Go on everything, go. Oh, go on everything, go. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Also sad Saturday.
Sad Saturday.
Because it's our last one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This has been a remarkable season in challenges that we've faced here in Calgary. If you're watching us from elsewhere, I'm sure we're gardeners. We face challenges, but Calgary seemed to have a bit of a unique blend of challenges this year. Between an extremely mild winter with a lot less precipitation to an extremely cold and wet May to a huge water restriction in June. Yeah. It's been a spring, that's for sure. And it seems like yesterday that Brandy and I were getting started doing these webinars, and it also seems like it was a year ago.
Yeah.
Like simultaneously. Anyway, we made it. It's been great, as always. I thank everybody who always follows along with these. Without you guys, there's no point doing this, and we love doing these kind of things. We love the podcast and workshops and meeting new people and going out and talking about it. And want to leave you with some things because I know for a fact. Also, I hope everybody has their coffees. Happy Saturday morning. I'm going to have a coffee. Brought to you by our podcast. So if you do need more of us and the webinars are done, please tune into our podcast. But we're getting into summer mode. Okay, if you're not already there, I'll be there in a couple of weeks. Just got another one last big project to do at work, and then I can kind of dial back and I'm in summer mode, not working weekends. And as a result of that, I find we can lose enthusiasm for the garden. We maybe burnt ourselves out, and the garden might start transitioning mentally to us from being fun and novel, and I can't wait to get into the garden, to it being a chore. And that's what we want to avoid. So, when we're gardening in the spring, there is so much to do. Like, you got to amend, you got to do this, you got to do this, think about this. There is so much going on. But then we've done all of that, and then where do we go? So we're going to talk about summer gardening, and it can be harder to get motivated, absolutely. It's hotter for us and for the garden. Due to that heat and lack of rain, our plants have a tendency to slow down. Water is going to be essential, and again, I've got some notes on that for anybody from Calgary. We still should be fertilizing, especially our veggies, but everything. We still want to maintain that healthy soil, but we want to enjoy it. Okay, we want to harvesting and reaping our fruits isn't just literally taking a tomato off the plant or getting a pepper. Harvest the joy of gardening. Enjoy what you've done. Have fun. So how can we get motivated when it is blazing hot outside? Garden morning and evening. I'm more of a morning gardener than I am an evening gardener. I'm an early riser anyway. If I have to choose when I'm doing it, I find the morning, even in the evening, even though it's cooled down, it can still be warm. The ground can still be warm. I prefer to get out first thing in the morning, but either of those times, as long as it's not baking heat, is going to be great. Appropriate clothing. For some people, that might mean less is more. A pair of shorts, a bikini, whatever. Please make sure you have SPF. For others, it's long flowing things, it's white, it's loose cottons, whatever is a breathable material. There's no right or wrong answer. It's appropriate clothing to you don't want to be going out there in thick canvas pants and a button-up plaid jacket, which we might have had to do in the spring because it was 10 degrees. But now we have to look at how to beat that heat. Water, then more water for us and our garden, and slow it down. The garden is moving slower. We can slow ourselves down. It's not a marathon it's not a sprint at all. Now we're just in that like easy, lazy summer days. Tiredness. we've gotten through the spring, especially if you're a gardener or you work in a garden center or you work in a spring-orientated business. There's a lot of uptick in the spring. Pool cleaning, working in any kind of anything in the outdoor realm. Your spring is going to be the busiest. So we tend to be tired. We're going into our summer a little frazzled already. So look at the small batches of success. Look at your pots. Quick deadheading. You can go out with a coffee and deadhead all of your pots and you still haven't finished your coffee. Okay? Little jobs. You don't have to make everything a big production. Focus on priority. Okay? Is there something that has to be done? Maybe the weeds are getting out of control in that back bed and you're like, I've got to get on that. Go tackle that. Don't worry what the neighbors think about a few dandelions in the front bed. Go tackle the big job that you need to have the energy for. Teamwork, as in pay your teenager to go do it. But no, many hands make light work. Okay, so maybe you pick a day and you go, hey everybody, I'm going to take us all out for lunch, but let's get some gardening done. And everybody's like, hell yeah. And you've got somebody cutting the grass and somebody weeding, somebody else sitting back, day drinking, whatever. Everybody has a niche. That's all I'm saying. Other distractions, camping, vacations, day trips, whatever it might be that take us away from the garden. So get the garden ready. Plan. Put gardening in your planner. Be like, okay, Wednesdays I don't have a lot going on. That's my garden day. A Wednesday I'm going to go out and I'm going to deadhead and I'm going to weed. Okay? Can't schedule water like that because you're probably going to need to be watering more than once a week. And remember essential versus aesthetic. And Brandy and I talk about this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with gardening or hell, doing anything for aesthetic. I tend to be more functional, more so than form, as in I look at something and I go, that will work better. That is the way I'm doing it. I don't care how it looks. I don't care about the appearance. Jenny tends to bring more of the style to it, where Jenny's like, oh my God, honey, you planted everything and all you did is put it in a 5-gallon plastic pot. Can we maybe get a nice ceramic cover pot? And I'm like, yeah, whatever you want. The plants are going to do fine. But there's nothing wrong with aesthetic. My brain doesn't look at it that way for the garden. Other people's do. If aesthetic is your priority, then do that. But figure out your priorities. Figure out what is essential. For you to enjoy your garden, aesthetic is essential. That's what you're going to do. If you don't care about aesthetic, you got to get those weeds. That's what you got to do. Okay? Sometimes our novelty is worn off. Right? We're creatures of habit. You ever got something new, a new car, a new tool, new clothes? You love them, you're wearing them, you're like, everybody look at my new shoes, they're so awesome. After a couple of months, they're just shoes. They're now just in rotation. Our garden can be the same. So start some new plants and seeds. Divide your perennials. Okay, first thing in the morning, it's cool enough, get those perennials divided. Have a garden party. Okay, invite friends over and nobody inside.
I love that idea.
I thought that might speak to you. I'm listing all these things. Brandy's like, no, I'm not going to do seeds. I'm not dividing a party. You're like, yeah. But have a garden party. Nobody indoors. Yeah. Nobody indoors, okay? Everybody entertains outside. You can run some fairy lights. Yeah. Get some garden cocktails going. Nothing wrong with having a garden party. Have a brunch in the garden.
Yeah, that's actually me on Canada Day.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So Brandy is well ahead of the curve here. But put in some new decor. Buy a garden gnome. Put them in. Get a little fountain. Start doing little things that make it novel again. That you're like, oh, I have to go turn the fountain on. Okay, because I want to hear that sound. And inspire yourself to get back in the garden. Our flowers probably have slowed down. I'm not talking about veggies, I'm talking about our flowers, our annuals, perennials, okay? You want to keep deadheading, you want to keep fertilizing, you want to keep getting water, and maybe you might need to move some pots around, as in, you might just want to rotate them so the back is now getting a bit more sun. Maybe you're like, oh God, I planted these, the deck is so crowded now because the plants have spilled over, you might want to actually move some. But that's going to change the aesthetic, it's going to change the approach. I get asked a lot how my plant pots always look amazing up until October, up until the frost hits and kills them all. It's because I always keep the fertilizing, the deadheading, and the watering going. And I know it can sometimes become a chore, but I don't make it a chore. Jenny will go out and she'll deadhead. We come in with Jimmy from a walk and we're quickly deadheading pots. That's all it takes. Small batches of success. And then we look for the motivation. It's like every week I go out and weed and there's still weeds. But every week, I promise you, they're getting less and less. I did this for decades, maintaining. Once a week maintenance is your best friend. Those weeds will become ridiculously easy to tackle. And if you miss a week, they're not going to get out of control. Don't miss a week. Don't get into that habit. Got a whack of my finger. But keep going. But the more you treat it, the easier it becomes, like anything. Like I said, schedule in. Wednesday mornings is your time. Use predator bugs. Release predator bugs. Predator bugs for everybody. Get those good bugs in your garden. Let them take care of the bugs for you. Water accordingly. Act fast before things become an issue. So you're like, oh my God, I need to get out there and water. Get out there and water. Don't put it off, because now your plants are in serious stress. Before they were a little wilty, you're like, no, I'll get to it. Now they're in serious duress and you're like, oh my God, I've got to water slower. This is going to take longer. You're making a bigger job for yourself as opposed to just getting on what needs to be done. Provide for the birds and the good bugs, and you'll have less weeds and bad bugs. And weeds are a mindset. Okay, we talk about that all the time. Maybe a dandelion in your lawn isn't a priority anymore because you're like, meh, it looks pretty good. My lawn looks great. I know some of my neighbors' lawns are not looking good with the water ban we currently have in Calgary, but my naturalized lawn that is filled with thyme, clover, sedum, dandelion, plantain, creeping bell, it is still beautiful and green. I got flowers coming up in my lawn. I literally couldn't be happier. Summer heat. Okay, we know it gets hot, we know it gets baking. Protect yourself. So long sleeves, pants instead of shorts, skirts. You don't want that. That's not your jam. You like, like me, you want to wear those like 70s bicycling shorts and socks and whatnot. Use the SPF. Okay, put it on. I never like going into detail about this, but I got skin cancer because I didn't take care of myself. My doctor treated it. Dr. Devani, give him a shout out all day long. I love that man. I love that man. He found it and treated it for me before it became a big problem. But I have a big scar right now because I used to garden shorts, that was it, and I'd get sunburnt because I was young, didn't take care of myself. All I had to do was do that. So keep an eye out for ourselves. Hats, good way to keep the sun off our head. Water, water, water. I am bad for that. I dehydrate nearly every time I'm in the garden because I'm an idiot. You'd think I'd learn by now. I'm getting better. I'm consciously making myself bring water and take water breaks.
Yeah, coffee doesn't count.
I know, but I bring a bottle of water, I put it on the stoop, I get to work, and then I'm like, oh, I'm thirsty. And I keep going, and then I'm done, and I go, oh, water, and I chug the whole thing at once. I should have drank 3 of them during that time, slower. Again, just like the plants, I wait until they're parched, and then I make a big, and then the next day I'm like, oh, got such a headache. Yeah. I don't feel good. I'm really tired. Yeah, because water. UV rated sunglasses. I used to buy the cheap ones because I'm like, I'm gardening in them. Who cares? It did damage my eyesight. So, I'm just telling you this stuff because I've lived it. I've done it. I've taken the damage and I don't want you guys to do it. So just small protection to get ourselves out there. There's nothing wrong. I've gardened in the heat in Montreal and in Calgary. It sucks. But it can be done if we take care of ourselves. Protect our plants, water. I'm like, oh my God, the plants need a drink, and I'm out there and I'm watering them and I'm not drinking anything. And I'm like, oh, I got the plants taken care of. Covers if needed, and that can be shade cloth and frost blankets. We've talked about that. Your plants might be getting too much sun. They might be getting too exhausted. Maybe for a few hours during the day, you want to get that sun off them, give them a break. Get that mulch down, help keep that soil insulated so the roots aren't getting baked in that hot soil. Feed correctly and move your pots if possible, because it can happen. Our pots are doing amazing in the spring, then suddenly we realize they're in the corner of a deck. There's white all around them, or light colors that's reflecting the sun. We're getting more sun during the day, and those poor pots are stressing hard because of the amount of heat that they're suddenly getting. Maybe we just move them, and sometimes it can literally be move it 3 feet over. Now it's getting more shade, it's cooled down, or it's getting a bit more wind flow. We've moved it around the corner, and now there's airflow on it. So keep an eye out for things that we can do. A lot of people, I think, notice their plants slow down in the summer. I certainly do. Even maintaining them the way I do, and the way I can tell is they require less deadheading. So if they require less deadheading, it means that they're not putting out as many flowers. So when I notice that, I go, oh, they're slowing down, that's okay. A lot of times we're giving them the same amount of water we give them in the spring, but the plants aren't drinking it because it's evaporating quicker because of the heat. So again, we may need to up the amount of water. We may need to do... Flooding it isn't going to do any good because the water is going to drain out the bottom. Hopefully we've got drain holes. So the excess water will drain away. The water that's in the soil will still evaporate at the same rate. So maybe now it's watering twice a day. Okay, you can give them the same amount of water, but space it out so the plant gets a chance to drink it up. So increase the water time, increase the amount of water. You'll have to play with that. I can't give an answer because every location is different. 2 plant pots, the same plants, the same thing, 6 feet apart can require different water. So you'll have to keep an eye on that yourself. But that's one of the reasons our plants slow down. They're not getting the water that we think they're getting. Flowers are forfeited. It's too hot. The plant is like, I'm not putting out flowers. That requires more energy. All I'm trying to do right now is keep myself alive. So that's what they're doing. They're maintaining themselves. They're keeping themselves alive. So when it does cool down, they've got enough energy to start blasting out flowers. They stop breathing when it gets that hot. The stomata can actually start closing, or they open too much. The whole, just like us, go out and do a hike. In the spring, in the winter, you can go a lot further. In the summer, people are like, oh, I'm having trouble catching my breath. We're hot, we're overheated. The air is thicker and hotter, and it can be harder for us to breathe. It's harder for the plants as well. So we need to look at that. So how do we help them? We water accordingly, and we water lots. Mulch, keep that ground cool so that the roots are cooler, so at least we know that they're alive. Healthy living soil. We always talk about amending the soil in the spring. You can amend the soil through the whole season, and it's heavily recommended. It's a good thing to do, is keep that organic material in there. Be prepared to cover or create shade, and fertilize regularly. That fertilizer is good for them. You have a diet and you're not eating properly, it's summer. When it gets too hot, sometimes I'm like, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm like, it's too hot to eat. Okay, I'm like, it's too hot to eat. I'm not in the mood for anything. I end up feeling worse. Find what I can eat. So eat something cold, not just ice cream, but ice cream.
Yes.
But pasta salad. That's a great one. You get the carbs, you can get some veggies into you, but it's cold. It's not too hot. You're not turning on a stove. You know, I don't care if you got air conditioning. Turning on a stove in the summer,
yeah.
I don't like it.
No, me neither.
And then barbecuing is great. It's great, but then you're standing in the heat over a hot grill. So none of that inspires me. I am much lazier with my cooking in the summer. Summertime is made for pasta salads and sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I still need to have that healthy stuff coming in. I still need supplements. I still need fresh fruit. I still need carbs. So do the plants. Okay, they need that fertilizer. Even though you're like, well, they're not flowering. They're not flowering because of the stress. That means they need more stuff, not less. So, water is essential and cannot be skipped. Now, I'm saying that, and I know that sounds like, you know, Calgary Mayor's going to walk in here and punch me. So note for Calgarians, this means we use grey water, we use the city-provided non-potable water, which I just learned how to pronounce this week because of Brandy.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Everybody says potable water. Apparently it's potable water, and I never picked that up from Jeopardy when Alex Trebek would be like, the category is potent potables.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I'd be like, it's potables, Alex. Maybe your mustache got in the way, buddy. Where was I? Trashing Alex Trebek, a Canadian treasure. We can use rainwater, obviously, or bottled water. But water is essential for our plants. We know that. That's photosynthesis science 101. Water early as possible. One of my favorite things is people ask me, when is the best time to water? This question is always immediately followed up when I give my answer in what is the second best time to water, because the best time to water is 4:30 in the morning. Easy peasy. The earlier, the better is when we want to be watering. If you have to water in the heat of the day, you're not an early riser for whatever reason, or if you do wake up, it's go time, kids, life, I get it. I'm not saying this should come first. It absolutely shouldn't. All of the important things, family and whatnot, needs to come first. Then water very efficiently, which means get the water down to the roots, have mulch, have soaker hoses, try and stretch that water as much as you can. But especially in Calgary right now, the water is essential. We just have to be creative on where we're getting it from. Water scorch is a debunked myth, and it took me a number of years to reconcile. Since I've been this big, gardening with my dad, oh no, can't water in the heat of the day, the plants will get water scorched, sunburned, whatever. Doesn't happen. I have Googled it, so I have Googled it with bias. Plants sunburnt because of water, and Google's like, nope. I'm like,
are you sure?
Yeah, come on, algorithm. Somebody out there says it. Yeah. But I was deliberately trying to force the algorithm because I really wanted to test it. Everything I can find is that doesn't happen. Now, it's not a good idea necessarily to constantly be spraying it on your leaves because it's a very inefficient way to water, but you're not going to hurt the plant. And every once in a while, washing the leaves off, getting rid of the dust, or God forbid, forest fires and the ash and whatnot. Brandy and I did was it 2 years ago when we did that podcast episode on that?
We've only been doing this a year.
So it was a year ago when we did the podcast. And Brandy found a really interesting stat from California, and it was something about with that smoke in the air and the filtered sun, and then the smoke and the ash and the dust getting on your leaves. Your plants lose something like 75% of their ability to photosynthesize. Yeah. So washing those leaves off every once in a while isn't a bad thing. I still would recommend do it in the morning, again, for water efficiency, but don't have to worry about sunburn, which it's still hard for. You know when you've learned something your whole life and now you have to change it because the science and the facts are there? That's where I'm at with that. Yeah. It's still, and I'll be honest, okay, full transparency here, because I hate coming up and feeling like I'm lecturing. I still can't bring myself to do it in the sun.
No.
Still can't do it. I know it's there. I've done it a couple of times to test it, and I'll do it in the morning. I can't do it. So anyway, there you go. Full transparency. If your plant is heat stressed, okay, watering during heat stress is not great. Just like if somebody is overheated, you don't give them water and say, chug this, okay? You move them into the shade. You get their core temperature cooled down. You give them room temperature water to sip on. Then we can start progressing. It's the same with a plant. Your plant's in severe heat stress, you turn on the hose, it's cold water, and you blast it on the plant and fill it up, and you go, there you go, buddy. The plant's like, that did nothing. You've just made it worse. If your plant has heat stress, you want to really trickle that water onto it. This is where rain barrels are amazing, because that water is going to be the same temperature as the ambient air, so you're not going to shock it. You want to trickle drink so that the plant can take it up slowly. But there are times when we don't have time for that whole process, or plants are in heat stress, we need to get water on them. Same thing, if somebody's overheating and all you can do is get cold water into them, that is better than not doing it. It's just not the best. So always kind of look at your plant and be like, what would I do for a person in this situation? And they're alive. They have a lot of the same requirements we do. They grow, they move. They're not getting out of the ground and moving, but their leaves move for the sun. They need food, they need shelter. So plants, they are a living thing. So these small kind of considerations can get us there. Water slow and deep. We just talked about that. Mulch is your friend. Okay, get that mulch down. Insulates water. Stops soil erosion. Stops the soil from drying out and blowing away. Mulch is fantastic. Spraying leaves can help cool and clean plants. And water pots and containers accordingly, keeping in mind it is still possible to overwater. Unlikely if you have drain holes and it's 35 degrees. It's unlikely that you're going to overwater, but you can. That means you've turned it to mud. The plant now can't breathe properly. You're running the risk of root rot or bringing in fungal disease or other bugs. So just be careful with your pots and containers. It's tempting to think, oh, it's so hot, and we flood them and we flood them and we flood them, and now we're overwatering. So it would kind of be like drowning in the Sahara. Fertilizing. If you haven't started fertilizing, now is the second best time. Okay, the best time is right away. Not everybody does it. Some people don't understand it. They're intimidated. They don't think it's necessary. Whatever the reason, I don't care. No judgment. But I recommend doing it. That's how I get such bountiful harvests. I don't have some magic trick. Everything I do to have my flowers healthy in October and get the amount of tomatoes I do off the plants I do are all the tips I give you guys freely. It's all about the watering and the fertilizing and the maintenance and checking on things. That's it. That's it. There's no magic secret I've got. It's years of experience doing these things and being able to notice and react, but there's no magic formula. Fertilizer is not essential. I'm never going to say that because it's not, and I'm not going to sell snake oil. I'm not going to make people think, oh, if I'm not fertilizing, I'm not gardening properly. But it's damned important. It is not like taking supplements and eating 8 servings of fruits and vegetables in a day. You don't have to. It's been proven that humans can survive on very, very little. It's not healthy. It's not great. We don't want to do that. There's a big difference between survival and thriving. Okay, I don't want my plants to just survive. I want them to thrive. I want trailing flowers. I want the tallest sunflower I can get. I want 30 pounds of tomatoes on one plant. That's what I'm looking to get here. So that's where the fertilizer comes in. And fertilize accordingly. So really simple. And we've talked about fertilizer at length, and I know next year we'll talk about it. We've done podcast episodes on it, but it is confusing and people don't know. So use the correct fertilizer. So that's either a specific fertilizer. You got tomatoes, you use the one that says tomatoes, or all purpose. So everything is specific except for all purpose, which sits back and does everything. Much like anything, the more specific you get for the job at hand, the better. I can put a screw in a wall with a hammer. Not awesome. Any carpenter out there, if they're listening to this, is probably like nails on a chalkboard to them. That screw will do a lot better. The wall will do a lot better. The tools will do a lot better if I put the screw in with a screwdriver. So using a specific fertilizer is always better, but I get it. We don't want 8 fertilizers when we might only have 30 or 40 plants. Okay, if that's the case, go with all purpose. It's absolutely 100 times better than nothing. Don't over fertilize. People are guilty of that. Oh, if 10 milliliters is good, 20 must be better. Nope. Stay with 10, even dial it back. If you're not sure, you think that's about 10, put some back in. I'd rather you use 8 than 12. Okay, if it's asking for 10, use 8, not 12. Apply accordingly. So I see people when they're fertilizing, spraying on the leaves, you can get fertilizer burn if you've over fertilized. It can also cause a film on the leaf, which is going to inhibit photosynthesis. So fertilize, you want that on the roots. There are some that are foliar sprays. Obviously, that's a whole different kettle of fish, but I'm talking about our regular garden fertilizers here. If your plant is stressed, heat stress, we just talked about that. I always cut my fertilizer in half. So if 10 milliliters makes a liter, 5 milliliters, okay? Or 10 milliliters and I make 2 liters. Doesn't matter which way you go. I always do it in half. Again, it's that whole principle. The plant, somebody is stressed or they're hungry, you don't give them a huge meal. You let them nibble on snacks first. Gets the appetite going, then they can start processing it properly. You don't want to be coming in and giving them a huge dose of fertilizer and water. The plant doesn't know what to do with it. And if you're using water soluble, fertilizers, no matter what, even in the spring, anytime. This is just a great tip. It's always a good idea that the soil is moist before you do it. A lot of times when the soil's dry, we put water, that water runs straight down to the bottom. Then the soil starts saturating, then the rest of the water sits there. You put in fertilizer, it runs all the way past the roots and does nothing. Getting that soil moist so it holds the fertilizer is the move. I printed this slide in black and white, and it's very difficult to read.
I'll help you.
Thank you, Brandy. I know there's some glare on it too. But I mean, I can wing this, but I do want to cover it. Keep your soil healthy, okay? We've talked about this also, but we talk about it as in do it in the spring, amend that soil. These are your amendments. Now we're going forward, and a lot of people go, well, I already amended my soil. It doesn't hurt to do it again. It really doesn't. Do it twice, do it 3 times. You don't want to be doing it every week. It's a waste of money. It's not necessary. It's not really going to hurt. But it's absolutely, your soil is already beautifully amended. You add more amendments. It's just a waste of time and money. So there's literally no benefit.
We're just talking garden bed, right?
Yeah.
Pots and
No,
stuff.
because pots are very hard to amend. Again, these are beds, raised planters, whatnot. So healthy soils hold moisture better, and I don't mean a little, I mean a lot. They found out, I believe it was Oregon State University, did a test, and I was finding this out to help people with some advice for gardening during these water restrictions we currently have, which should be over soon.
Yay!
What everybody has gone through in Calgary, including, and I know it's very easy to point the finger, but including the government trying to keep everybody, you know, the municipal government, the gardeners, people that have got kids, people that work in environments where they need water to look after other humans or animals and whatnot. Like, it's been tough. It's been very tough. You know, I've been filling up my watering can sometimes with a measuring cup from the sink for grey water. I did buy one of those 22-liter things of water, though.
Did you?
Yeah.
I feel like naughty when I go out to water. Like I'm like, just so everyone knows, it's from a rain barrel.
Grey water.
Yeah,
Grey.
yeah.
I was filling up. I felt decadent, and I was filling up my watering can from my big jug.
Yeah.
And Jenny took a video, and I was like, "Oh, don't post that." And she's like, "Wow, you're being really responsible. Like it's a good thing." And I was like, "I just feel so decadent."
Yeah.
Like I went out and bought this water for my plant. Like I just there's other people who don't have drinking water, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
from a,
totally.
But we triage our problems. We do what we can. But Oregon State found 1% increase of organic material holds 1.4 liters of soil per cubic foot. So that much soil can retain 1.5 liters of water. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so keeping that soil healthy will actually help your plants during the heat because there's more moisture retained around the roots. A well-aerated soil, which we get from amending and cultivating, allows better gas exchange. So we already said our plants are having difficulty breathing. Let's make sure that those gases are exchanging as freely as possible. Add amendments through the season. We talked about that. Compost and manure help hold the soil. So they actually keep the soil together. So there's times in Calgary, I've seen it before, people's soils are very dusty because it's so arid, so hot, and the soil is getting dusty. Compost and manure actually keeps that bond. They keep that earth, not dust. Peat moss coir, they help with moisture retention. And then our worm castings, our volcanic minerals, our charcoals, help with all of the other good things that we need. Microbial activity, adding in the non-essential elements that plants do need, but they're not essential. That's what we're looking at getting going here. That the healthy bacterias and the nematodes and all those little microbes that do their wonders under the soil. That's what we're looking for. And cover your soil. If you go out into a forest and you want to look at the soil, now maybe that's just me. I project that on a lot of. I've said that to people. I'm like, you know, when you're in the forest and you look at the soil and they're like, nope, and I'm like, oh, okay, I do it frequently. But that soil is very, very rarely on the surface. You got to dig through sticks and leaves and twigs and moss and fallen stuff, whatever. Sometimes you got to dig down that much. Other times it feels like it's this deep before you get to soil. But that soil is always cool and moist and it's rich. It's beautiful, beautiful soil. Partly because it's covered. Partly because all of those ingredients that I just mentioned, all of those leaves and bark and twigs and mosses, they're breaking down and they're creating new soil, and then they're getting covered by more stuff. So that soil is constantly being amended and constantly being covered. So covering our soil helps retain all of that goodness. The mulch will start to break down. We just put fresh mulch down. So covering your soil is huge. And you can use mulch in pots. I'll quickly talk about pots because Brandy brought that up and it's a great point. Very hard to amend. My pots, I really don't do it. What I will do at best is add worm casting extract. Thought I had some up here.
No.
Might be behind my art. No. Worm casting extracts is just liquid worm castings. That's it. They take worm castings, they press them, the juices that run out, they put in a bottle, you put that in, you get all the benefits of worm castings, but you don't mix it into the soil. Normally my pots, they're in a really good potting mix. I mix in some amendments when I do that. I've talked about that, volcanic dust and worm castings, and then I just keep them up on fertilizer. So that's how my pots stay as good as they do. So that's what I would recommend. Okay, enjoy your space your way. And what I mean by that, and I talk about this, stop worrying about the neighbors. I hear it so many times. I hear more people talk about, well, that's not true actually, but I hear a lot of people talk about what their neighbors think or what they have to do for their neighbors when they're talking about their garden. Zero, never. I will never do that. I'm certainly not a jerk to my neighbors. I have a great relationship with my neighbors on both sides. But I'm gardening for me, not them. Okay, my garden is for me. I'm not doing anything that's going to hurt their garden. When I release ladybirds, I hope the ladybirds go to their gardens too. I've gone over and helped them plant stuff and given them advice. But I'm doing my garden for me and my family. I celebrate myself in my garden. I really do. I like to talk about it. I like to tell people. I like to take stuff that I've harvested to my neighbors and my colleagues and my family. Like how I brought up my family last. I've actually grown food that I don't eat because my family are like, you grow it better than me. And I'm not talking about the family I live with. I'm talking about other family members. Primarily, I'm looking at my sister here. And she's like, you grow that better than I can. Can you just grow it for me this? Yeah. And I grow it for her, harvest it, and then give it all to her.
Wow.
Yeah. So I do garden for other people, absolutely. But I'm gardening for myself. I enjoy it, and I can make somebody else happy.
Yeah.
Brandy's favorite thing, have a garden party.
Yeah.
Brandy's second favorite thing, have garden games.
Yeah.
Have garden games during your party.
Ah.
Maybe not lawn darts.
No.
But there's all kinds
What's your favorite garden game?
Wash your toss.
What is that?
Washer, it's like horseshoes, but it's you have a box. I don't know what the standards are, and then in the box you have a can.
Yeah.
And then normally you put sand so it doesn't fall out, and you buy those big washers that go on bolts. You can play in pairs. You can play one-on-one, and you stand whatever 20 feet, 30 feet. I don't know if there's a regulation, and you toss the washer. If it misses, you get nothing. If it goes into the box, you get 1 point. If it goes into the can, you get 5 points.
Cool.
And it's first to 21 or whatever it might be. And I might have those rules slightly mixed up, but that's it in a nutshell.
Love it.
Great garden, because you'll play a double, so it'll be, and then you swap ends. So you get 3 washers, I throw my 3, you throw your 3, the other 2 do that. Then you swap ends, and that way if the sun is in your eye.
Oh, different advantage.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. I like that.
I love washer toss. It's a really fun game. Backyard fires and barbecues. I know we haven't been allowed them this season in Calgary yet because of the water restrictions. We don't need fires getting out of control. We will be allowed them. That's a great way to enjoy the garden. Hammocks in a seating area. We've talked about that. Personalized decor. You have an old bike, now it's a trellis. Come and buy a gnome. Buy a gift for somebody. Maybe they like it. Have fun. Make yourself a dirty martini, okay? And then walk around and see how many dirty pollinators you can find and give you dirty pollinators some dirty martini, okay? It's going to be a dirty garden. That didn't sound right. I'm going to move on from that.
Garden theme.
Yeah. Use media to celebrate your success. Again, it's going back to that aesthetic thing. There is nothing wrong with posting pictures on Instagram and being like, hell yeah, that's mine. I love it when people do that. We see it all the time on our Golden Acre feed, and we normally like the hell out of them.
Yeah.
And that's not even ones that we're tagged in. We follow a lot of gardeners. A lot of gardeners follow us, and we see pictures of people's pots or veggies or plants or their dogs playing in the garden. Dogs always get, we're gonna like it. Okay, we love, and it's not just liking it because we have to, we like it because we like it. It makes us happy. Use it as a place of peace and harmony. Okay, we've talked about that. It boosts mental health. It gives you a chance to connect with your family on a different level. It's a good place to escape. It's a good place to leave the phone indoors and go out and garden with the kids. Celebrate silly days. There's World Naked Gardening Day. There's Pollinator Day. There's Weeding Day. There's our personal favorite, Diatomaceous Earth Day. Okay. Brandy and I were looking for fun garden days, and that was a day, and it stayed with us forever. Cause
Like, why?
it's like the lamest garden.
It is.
Buy
Like,
some-
what are you supposed to do?
You buy Diatomaceous Earth, you put it down, and that's it. You've celebrated.
Honestly.
Hey, to anybody who manufactures and produces Diatomaceous Earth, that's for you.
Yeah.
Okay? But here's a good one, and I was looking at this. You want a good activity, you want something fun, you want some personalized decor, you want to bring some novelty back. July 7th,
Yeah.
okay, so next Sunday is Build a Scarecrow Day. Okay? So, you got some tomatoes, the birds are coming at you,
Yeah.
berries? Build a scarecrow with the kids.
Why is that not a thing in the city?
I have no idea.
Like, we have gnomes.
Yep.
But like, I've never really seen scarecrows.
Do you know the only
before.
time I see scarecrows? Halloween.
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah, scarecrows are awesome.
Yeah.
And then you could repurpose it for Halloween.
Yeah.
But build a scarecrow with the kids.
Love that.
Have fun. It's a fun craft activity. You can use glue guns, probably better than me.
You have to tell them.
If you haven't seen our latest podcast episode, Brandy, we were talking about gardening with kids. Great subject. We love it. And then Brandy decided we were going to do crafts. And she didn't tell me any of this, by the way. I came into the studio and there was all this stuff on the table. And I'm looking, I'm like, all right. And then Brandy showed me what we were building. No step-by-step instruction. A pile of twigs and leaves and googly eyes and a glue gun and a picture. And she said, build that. I think it was about 2 minutes in and I already glued everything to my fingers and I had branches stuck to the glue gun. And Brandy, much like she's doing now, laughed at
Yeah,
me.
it
She,
was great.
yeah, she was crying. There was no help. There was no assistance. There was no pat on the back. You're doing great, Colin.
Yeah.
It was full on laughing
Yeah.
at me.
It's called The Helpful Gardener. So check it out.
Yeah, there we are. I'm not going to show there we are. That's our logo if you're looking for us. But invite others to see your garden. I always get people walk by and they kind of come up my path to look, and I'll walk out if I'm around and I'll talk to them and I'll be like, oh yeah, come have a look. Look at this. This is what, and I walk them through it and they love it. People want to see your seedlings. They do. They genuinely do. Other gardeners love hearing from other gardeners because we can steal your success. And we can give you our advice and we can play with that, and you can take our success and give us your advice. You're never too old to learn. I just learned how to use a glue gun. Do not think that you can smooth the glue out with your finger.
No.
It does not work. Keep going. Keep the garden going. There is still a ton of time to plant trees, shrubs, perennials, annuals if you can find them. I think we still have some left, but they're going fast.
Yeah, they're on sale.
Yeah, they are. They are actually. And so if you can find them, and maybe there's a spot and you're like, get something in there. Okay, again in Calgary, please use the water that we talked about, but get them in there. The city are giving away 25 gallons. Every day you can go and get 25 gallons. You can even start seeds. We've talked about succession planting with seeds. So you can even start new seedlings. Again, get that novelty coming back. Maintenance can be as good for you as a garden. You can get a workout. Okay, you're stretching, you're on your knees, you're standing up, you're using different muscle groups when you're cultivating, you're carrying bags of soil, you're bending over to fertilize. There's all different exercises that you're doing. You're stretching as you go. Don't forsake your hard work thus far. I see that too many times and it makes me sad. People go out and they bust it, and every weekend they're in their garden in the spring, and then summer hits and they're like, ugh. They have nothing in the tank, it's become a chore, the weeds start coming back, the plants are suffering for water, there's some bugs, and then it becomes too big of a job and they go, I'll get to it next year. And garden season is done in August. You can push that through to October, no problem. And it's okay to take a break, and it's okay to slow down. And then really quick, I'm going to just talk about two things here, and I'm going to wrap it up. And it's plants and mental health. I want to talk about this because we talk about why we should keep going in the garden. One of the reasons people feel up in the spring is winter is over and winter sucks and the sun is out. But we're also around plants, and all of these are proven. I've taken these from numerous studies. I've Googled it. I've done presentations on this. And now, in no way, shape, or form am I a doctor. Am I a psychiatrist? So I'm not presenting these are the facts, but I have read into it and I have talked to professionals in the field about this. And I'm also going to say this, and it's right on the PowerPoint. It's not a cure-all. I don't believe that sunshine and being outside and plants stop you from being depressed at all. It's a tool in the toolbox. Okay, that's it. We all know people who have mental health issues. No way, shape, or form am I saying this is curing them. You need doctors and peers, and you need medication. You need the full plateau of resources available to you. Okay, with all of that being said, not diminishing, that was all very important. Plants, being in plants and in gardens. Okay, being around plants, so our house plants, a couple of plants on the patio, a garden, all the way up to a big arboretum. All of that, it's been proven that it reduces stress. That one I can speak to anecdotally because it absolutely does it. I'm stressed, I work with my plants, I calm down. It brings me back down. It boosts creativity. Just said, build a scarecrow. Get a glue gun and some leaves and have Brandy laugh at you. It boosts self-esteem. So, after all of that, when I got laughed at, this is what I created. A little spider. Okay? And I put this on my Instagram stories, and because I made such a mess with the glue, he has a spider web. Okay? So I feel very good about my little spider. And it boosted my self-esteem because at first I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm hopeless. And then I made that, and it made me feel awesome. It increases our quality of life. It actually increases memory retention. You feel like there's too much happening and you can't remember and there's so many things going on. Seriously, get in the garden for an hour and everything will slow down and your brain will stop because you turn off and you're like, I'm just deadheading, and then your brain can actually process things at a good rate. These have been proven by people with electrodes on their heads. Okay, again, it's not just me making it up. I love my plants. Everybody knows that. But I also don't sell snake oil. I'm not going to tell you something is going to do something if it's not. And some of these I've proven myself. I've done it and it's worked. It elevates our cognitive ability. Okay, so it allows us to process things differently and perceive things and problem solve and be more aware of things that are out there. It lowers aggression unless you're dealing with aphids.
Yeah.
Then you're like, game on. That actually cracked. I actually like that. Normally it doesn't work for me. I do that and I'm like, crack, crackly, crack, crack. It can decrease anxiety. Again, being around the plants, it calms you down. It brings you down. Looking at the green can help. Again, I'm not saying somebody's having an anxiety attack, throw them in the garden. Might not be the move, but it can help. These are tools in toolboxes. Can lower symptoms of depression, and it can increase general happiness. Okay, and this is why it's important to maintain these things, much like it's important to talk to your peers, to say I'm having a bad day, to say I'm having a good day, to say, hey, I bought this purely for the aesthetic, or I bought this because it's functional. It's all okay. And plants and our mental health will do that. And I love this quote, my garden is my favorite teacher. Because what I have learned from my garden has been pretty phenomenal. From the decades I've spent around plants, downtime is essential. It's not frivolous. I can be bad for that. I really can, where I'm like, I get bored quick. I feel like I'm being lazy. But downtime, our plants need downtime. Our plants go through 5-6 months of full dormancy because they're lazy. No, I'm kidding. They need that in order to come back out of dormancy and grow. They can't keep going. You keep pushing them. You take a perennial, put it into an environment, give it lights, water, and never let it go dormant. That perennial isn't going to be doing very good after a few years. Nothing can keep going. We need downtime. It is essential. Patience. Okay, I can't make a plant grow faster. I can't harvest fruit faster. I have to learn to let things develop in their own time. It's the same with people, with kids, with training a dog. You gotta have that patience, and these are things that we learn. React carefully, okay, but slow down and consider everything. So yeah, we might have to get out and water the garden. That doesn't mean we run out and we just put the hose on jet and blast the plants. Goes, okay, we have to react. What do I have to do? I got to gently soak the plants. I need to get them a drink. I don't want that water coming out too cold. We can be doing that as we do it, but we're considering everything. We're looking at all of the problems and we're going to react accordingly. Be mindful of taking care of myself to ensure growth. Okay? Like I said, I'll go out and I'll be like, oh my God, my plants need water. They need this. Meanwhile, I'm not drinking water. I have to be mindful. I have to look after myself so that I can grow as a person. I think I've maxed out on my height, but so that I can grow as a person, so that I can learn, so that I can do new things and I can have new challenges. And I need to take care of myself. I need to make sure I have, a fertile environment. I need to make sure that I've got variety and people around me. Balance is essential. Okay, the bad times teach us that the good times are great. The good times allow us to have that huge lift so we can get through the bad times. Bad times create stronger people. They give us resolve. They give us determination. We know we can get through a situation. The good times are the rewards where we can kick back and be like, I made it through that bad situation. Bad is going to happen in every life. Spoiler alert, good is also going to happen. And we do need both, and our gardens need both. Our plants need to have a little bit of duress in order to be healthier. Having an awareness that nothing stays the same, it's going to change. The seasons change, the days change, the rain changes. Change is good, it's beneficial. Okay, I know a lot of people don't like change. We can be scared of change, but we can also embrace it because it is important. And I say this all the time, and I mean it so much. One size does not fit all. I don't care if you like grass or you like pots or you want rid of everything and every flower because all you care about is food. If that's what works for you, aces. That makes me happy. Diversity is essential. We don't want monocrop. We don't want one of everything. We want it all mixed in. Okay, there's so many different. I could go on. I could probably do an entire episode just on diversity, and it would be fantastic. There are so many sources I could pull from on why diversity is essential, and it shows that diversity is essential in life. I need to listen to little kids. I need to garden with kids, but then I need to go to better gardeners, wiser gardeners than me, and get advice. I need the full spectrum of life out there. What is good for one plant, what is good for one person, might not be good for another. Okay, I can feed my tree 30-10-10. I don't want to be giving that to my tomatoes. And if I understand that that tree and that tomato can grow in harmony by getting the different things they need, I can understand that that's how people are. Okay, people need different things in order to succeed and be good. And the more support we have, the more full my garden is, the better everything grows together. Okay, and that's what I've learned. The more I can help somebody else grow and succeed, then that person can help me grow and succeed. It's not all about me. It's not all about them. It's about all of us going together. And that's literally everything that I've learned that I try and enact in my life, I have seen happen in a garden. I've tried to make a garden where there's no bad bugs, no weeds ever, and I'm on top of it and everything else. All that ends up happening is I create anxiety for myself. The plants aren't used to it. They're getting too much water and fertilizer. They start failing. Everything goes to hell. I let them suffer a little bit. I let the bad bugs come in, which brings in the good bugs. And I let all of that happen, and the garden does better. So when something bad happens, I go, okay, this sucks. This sucks. Today sucks. But today is not tomorrow. It's not yesterday. Today is today. I'll get through it. The next day will be better. So I hope you have a great summer. I hope it's safe. I hope it's beautiful. I hope you keep gardening. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you come to Brandy's garden parties. I hope you tune into the episode where Brandy cuts a lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're doing an upcoming episode on the podcast. So I'll just say this, the reason why I make a big deal out of this is, I'm not going to mention it, but Brandy is a certain age, which actually makes you sound older. She's not. Brandy is very young. But Brandy is of an age where you would assume somebody of that age at some time in their life would have cut grass at least once, especially since that person, the house they were raised in had a front and a back lawn.
Oh, yeah.
Brandy has never cut grass.
No.
Not once. Not with anything. Not with a power tool, a tractor, a push mower. Brandy and Bradley bought a house. And Brandy is going to cut the grass.
Yes.
And I am going to be there for it. I'm going to have my mojito or my dirty martini. And we're going to sit there and we're going to laugh as Brandy cuts a lawn for the first time. And it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
So there's lots of that's something that we can look forward to and have a laugh, and everybody will be there. We'll have a barbecue. Thanks, Brad. And it's a reason to be out in the garden. It's a reason to enjoy it and laugh. And you better believe we're going to be posting it on social media and we're going to celebrate it. So I hope you guys do the same. I hope everybody has a safe summer. You know where we are if you need anything. We're always available. We've got media. Come and visit us in person. We'll be here all the way through the fall, through the winter, through Christmas, all the way to next year, and follow along with the podcast. Okay, bye everyone.